Hello, Facebook. Good morning. I'm going to go live on Instagram too. So just a second. Let's do this. Fun. Okay. Hope everyone's having a good, hey, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. Good morning. I'm kind of dark on Instagram, but I think I'm all good on Facebook. How are you guys doing? Happy Labor Day to those of you that are in the United States, my fellow Americans. Hope that you guys have had an awesome weekend and that you're about to have an awesome day. So let me know whether you are tuning in live or if you're watching the replay. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments below, either on Instagram or on Facebook. Let me just go ahead and write on Instagram what we're talking about today, and then we'll get going. Cool. So I hope that you are all having an amazing morning and that you're really amped up about this week. I know I sure am. Before we get into today's topic, which is about five-figure days, just crazy to me because I feel like it was just not that long ago and I was discovering the five-figure month, and now it's been a day. I also just want to make sure that you all know that I am having a very big Labor Day sale, and it ends today at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific Time. And what this is a big sale on my email marketing course. Limitless List is what it's called. And this is actually inspired by a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, because August was a reminder to me of how unparalleled the power of email marketing is and how powerful it is when done correctly. So I wanted to put my email marketing course on sale to really make sure that, everyone out there can access that strategy and that power, because it really is incredible. So it's $150 off right now. After 3 p.m., the price goes back up to $597, and all of the bonuses that go with it, including a one-on-one call with me, including my highest performing opt-in of all time, including a 5-figure month training, that all goes away. It's all free right now. So if you are interested in learning how to use very strategic email marketing, you should hop on over to the link in my bio on Instagram, or I will just put it below this video on Facebook, and you can find out there more about it there. If you guys have any questions, just let me know, but do so before 3, of course, because then the sale is over and I don't want you to miss it. All right. With that, let's go ahead and start today's podcast episode. So welcome back, visionaries. I am your host, Leah, and this is your weekly live recording of my podcast, the Your Biggest Vision Show. We do these every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live, as well as on Instagram Live. I love doing these live with you guys. I love when you ask questions. I love when you tell me about how this is impacting your own life and business. So please do join us live. And if you can't, then don't worry, because we put them on the podcast every Tuesday morning. So here we are, Monday, with a new episode. And this is a really exciting one. I'm very excited to talk to you about it, because I've learned so much from this experience, and so much of it is what I wish I would have known. And so today's topic are thoughts on 5-figure days. I think a lot of people talk about 5-figure months, and I want to talk today about a 5-figure day. Now, I will start by saying that obviously you can't replicate this every single day and make every day a 5-figure day, or I shouldn't say you can't. You can do anything, but that's not really what I'm here to talk to you about, is like a clear, this is what I can now do every single day. But I want to really candidly share how these days have happened for me, what I wish I would have known a year ago when if someone would have told me this, it would have seemed like it was completely impossible, and how you can use the takeaways I've had from it in your own business. So I want to just back up by saying that I was reflecting a lot about this time last year. Those of you that don't know, or maybe you do know, that I'm getting married in about 5 weeks, less than 5 weeks actually. And over Labor Day last year, my fiance and I had an engagement dinner with our immediate families. It was just kind of a small party, and both of our parents and our siblings were there. And I remember being at that dinner so clearly, and I was so giddy about planning our wedding and so giddy about everything that was about to happen. I knew we were going to get married in a little over a year. And it was just a dream come true. And as we were talking there with our families about wanting a New York City wedding and wanting to have all these really incredible things for our guests, I felt a little bit of a pit in my stomach. That's the truth. And at first I was like, maybe I'm just jittery because I'm getting married and it's kind of nerve-wracking. But what really was going on is that I was nervous about how the heck we were going to pay for it. We were very lucky to have help from our parents, so we're not doing our entire wedding on our own. But I still knew in that moment that if we wanted these things to come true and our vision to come to life, then it was something we were going to absolutely have to make happen ourselves. And my business had started picking up a bit at that time. I was making more from it than I was from my day job, but I was still at my 9-to-5 job. I was really in a, kind of new phase. Things were picking up, but almost everything that I was doing every single month was the first time I had been doing it. I was launching a bunch of new things all the time. I was working with new clients all the time. I was raising my prices all the time. So it was just kind of an intense time. And there was so many mistakes I was making because it was the first time doing so many things, which is good, right? It's good to learn and make mistakes. But the point is, I did not have a clear roadmap for how I was going to get my business to the financial place that I needed to in order to make this wedding happen the way that I wanted. And that made me a bit nervous. And I remember after Labor Day weekend, kind of like looking at the reality of what we were doing and our goals and everything, and realizing that I was going to need to be making at least 5 figures a month for most of that next year as we were planning it. And the spoiler is that sure enough, by I think it was either October or November was my first 5-figure month. And they haven't really stopped. And now I'm able to come on here and talk to you about a 5-figure day as well, not just a month. So I'm very humbled and grateful that we were able to make these things happen and that we were able to make our wedding happen, which you guys will see in a month. We'll share lots of pictures. It's crazy. And it's just crazy that it's so soon. So we're really grateful that this was able to happen, of course. And I'm really proud that I was able to get my income up to that and contribute to my own wedding, which I guess isn't like something we should all be that proud of. I feel like we live in the modern day and age where people should pay for some of their wedding, if not all of it. But nonetheless, the point I'm trying to make is that a year ago, I did not know how to do this. A year ago, I did not know that this was going to work out for me. And a year ago, I never would have been able to be on here talking to you about this topic. So if you are listening to this and a 5-figure day sounds like it's light years away, it might only just be a year away. It might be under a year away. You probably are closer than you think. And I really want you to know that this is within your reach and this is within your grasp if this is something that is exciting you hearing about it. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about how I did this. Just one second. I'm going to take a sip of water, make sure that my sound is working. Okay. So here we go. I have 4 big takeaways for you guys, and I'd love to know which ones resonate with you the most. I never even took my sip of water. The first takeaway is about marketing. And the takeaway is simply put that no marketing is wasted marketing. I talked about this a little bit on a live on Saturday. I don't know if any of you caught it. But one of the things I learned from my income raising so much and being able to make higher ticket sales and everything was how many people have been following me for a long time before they actually decided to invest in me. And as you are growing and as your momentum is going up in your business, in entrepreneurship, whatever it is that you're doing, you are going to be raising your prices. Things are going to become more intense. In other words, you are going to become less accessible to the masses, and you should be raising your prices as you get better, obviously. So it's going to take longer for people to pull the trigger some of the time. It's going to take longer for them to really get to know you and make sure that they trust you and make sure that they resonate with the way you teach or the way you do whatever it is that you do in your business. And you can't expect that to happen overnight. So if you're doing some sort of launch, or if you're selling something, or if you have a program that you want to sell and you send out a few emails and you don't get as many signups as your goal was, in no way is that wasted marketing, ever. In fact, a lot of times that marketing is going to set you up for even bigger success down the road, because that is when people on your email list start reading about what it is you do. That's when they start getting curious. Maybe that's when they start asking your former clients for references. Just because they don't convert right then doesn't mean they're not still learning more about what you do and considering becoming your client later down the road. And it is in your interest for your clients and the people that buy from you to trust you very much. It might sound frustrating that you have to wait months or maybe even years sometimes for someone to trust you enough, but it's not, because what you don't want is someone to start working with you and then feeling like it's not a good fit because they rushed into it and or you rushed them into it. And so have the patience and trust that if you put something out there, even if the particular conversion isn't what your goal was, that doesn't mean that it's wasted marketing. In fact, quite the opposite. It usually means that it's helping the people who aren't quite ready to make a decision and buy from you yet, learn more about you and perhaps buy from you down the road. I've seen this time and time again. And I think it's really important for us all to remember that even if you feel like you're on a Facebook Live and no one's there listening, or you're sending emails and no one's buying, or you're posting on Instagram and no one's following, or whatever conversion you're looking for, it is none of it's wasted. It's just not wasted marketing ever. It is still helping your bottom line. So come up with a marketing plan and stick to it. I can be candid with mine. And marketing is like kind of a weird word to put it. It's a way to put it. For me, and I know for so many of my clients, if you have a platform, if you are a solopreneur, if you are a coach, a consultant, a blogger, a small business owner, a graphic designer, anything in that niche where you are running your business online, marketing is, broadly speaking, it's really just anytime you give value for free. I'm not just talking about like paid ads here or anything like that. So one of the things I do is I do this live stream every Monday. It's not really when I sell things, it's not necessarily something I'm looking for a conversion from every single time, but it's a time that I give value. I either teach something or I share something, or I, reflect on something that I wish I would have known or that I've really helped my clients with or something like that every Monday. And I'm consistent about it. And people know that they can show up and that I'll be here live. They also know that if they want to be here live, they can watch or listen to the replay on Tuesdays, because I put it out every Tuesday. I also send a newsletter out every Tuesday. I also put out an interview every Thursday. And I'm not saying you have to do all of these things, but don't get so muddled down in what specific marketing might or might not be working. Come up with a plan that represents your business. How are you getting a clear and concise message across on whatever platforms work for you and your audience? And drop the drama around it. That's it. We don't need to obsess over how many sales you're making each time. Now, I'm not saying, don't pay attention to your conversions. If things aren't working, yes, you should go back to the drawing board. But don't ever beat yourself up about a conversion not directly happening, because a lot of the times that marketing is just long-term marketing and maybe not as immediate or direct as the timeline you have fabricated in your mind. The second takeaway from a 5-figure day is that you never know who's watching. And this kind of goes with the first point about no marketing being wasted marketing. A lot of my higher ticket sales, and specifically my most recent 5-figure day, were from people that have just been watching me for a long time, and also from people who maybe knew someone who knew me and they were recommended to me. I have found clients, yes, a lot from my email list. And I think my email list is what ends up converting people a lot of the time. But still, clients have come to me that have been people I went to high school with, or my personal trainer from the gym is one of my amazing clients. She's like such a rock star. Sometimes it's just word of mouth of a former client advocating on my behalf when they hear someone that they think would be a good fit. So you never know who might hear what you have to say at the right time, which is, again, why it's really important to be consistent. And also why it's important to not obsess over who is or isn't watching a Facebook Live, who is or isn't opening emails, who is or isn't buying. You never know who you are reaching and who is watching and clinging on to what you're doing and who is going to then tell people about you. And so some ways to be really strategic about this theory, maybe you logically know, okay, well, there's probably people watching that I don't even know, and maybe they could become clients and I'm excited about that, but how can I actually make the most of that concept? I have 2 tips for that. Number 1 is just simple consistency. Just make sure, like I mentioned, that you are sticking to a marketing plan and going with it and doing it in a really consistent way, so that, and by consistent, I don't only mean like I come up and do this every Monday at 10 a.m. I also mean consistency in your messaging. Is it clear what you do? Is it clear who you help? Is your ideal client feeling spoken to? How can you be very consistent amongst the type of message that you're sending? And then the second thing is I want to make sure that I phrase this correctly. And we'll have to come back to that. But the takeaway is that you never know who's watching. Oh, it's really going to bother me now. Just a second. Let me take a sip of water. I don't know. We'll have to come back to it. Sorry, you guys. Okay. So takeaway number 2, you never know who's watching you. Takeaway number 3 is what I actually think is the most important out of all of these. And this is that it is up to you to put yourself in this game. It is up to you to decide that you're ready to have a 5-figure day. No one is going to come along and knock on your door and give you permission to do this. No client is going to come along and offer to pay you 5 figures in one day unless you ask them. No famous person is going to write you an email saying you're now ready to start charging 5 figures in one day. You have to put yourself in the game. And I think that is what was the most intimidating part to me this time last year, was wondering how I was going to do that and feeling like I didn't know if I was cut out for the type of money I wanted to make. And if I was, how I was going to actually make it happen. And that really freaked me out. Now, at the time, what I did to alleviate this, and what I also recommend you do if you're feeling like you're not ready, but you want this goal to happen, is to find a mentor or a coach or someone that can kind of teach you the ropes. That person will sort of serve as that, quote, permission slip, because they will push you to do what it takes to reach your goal. And you will do it because you invested your money in them, so you want to make it worth your while. You will probably not do what people tell you to do if you have no skin in the game. So that's what I did at the time. I started investing in masterminds and a coach, and was really transparent with my goals. And even when they told me to do really scary things like raise my prices or get on a live stream or invest in advertising or invest more in my branding, I did it because I thought, you know what? I'm paying them to learn from them. I'm not going to pay them and then not do what they say. I'm going to do it. So if you are feeling like you're struggling with not knowing how to get in the game, then I would find someone who has done what you want to do and learn from them. Nonetheless, no one person can take away that concept of you deciding that you are going to make this happen for yourself and you're going to put your own skin in this game. And I think that just comes from the decision that you are no longer going to be at the lower income level that you want to be away from, or something like that. And you will, I don't want to say you will, because maybe you'd be different than me, but for me, I suffered with a lot of imposter syndrome during this time. I was freaked out a lot. I was, nervous about it. What could I raise my prices? Did my clients really like me? Was I ready to do this? Could I really make this amount of money? And no one else will give you the permissions to those questions or the answers to those questions except yourself. So you need to decide that, yes, you're worthy of charging more. Yes, you will learn as much as you need so you can be the best in your field so that you can charge elite pricing. Yes, you are going to invest in your business enough so that it is professional, so that you can, put yourself in a different realm. But it all comes from you deciding that you are going to do this. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking that this is motivating and this sounds great, but you're just not really even sure how to begin going about making 5 figures a month. Maybe you haven't even started your side hustle. Maybe you haven't even gotten clarity around what it is that you want to sell. Maybe you don't even have your first client. And so you're listening to this and you're thinking, that all sounds great someday, not today, or sounds great for her, maybe not me. You right now, no matter where you're at, I don't care if you've never even heard of entrepreneurship before, which obviously you have. I don't care if you don't have a first client. I don't care if you've made zero money in your business. I don't care if you've made $100 a month and you're just trying to get to 1,000. I don't care if you're a stay-at-home mom. I don't care if any of those circumstances apply to you that are whispering to you why this isn't applicable to you. At this very moment, you can decide that you are going to have those characteristics be true, and simultaneously you are about to set yourself up to bring in 5 figures in a day or $10,000 in a month. If you want to do the month or the day, that's up to you. But that's where this starts from. It starts from you deciding that you are not going to discount this as a possibility for yourself. And you're not going to let these circumstances that you might currently be in dictate your future reality. You can start charting out a different future today, right now, regardless of the things you think you need differently about your life in order to even begin. You don't. You just need to decide that you are going to do something different. And this is the single biggest thing that holds people back, is they can, assume that it's just maybe they're just not quite ready, or maybe one day they'll be ready, or maybe in the future this will work for them. And they're still allowing the other parts of their reality blind the different reality that they want. And it logically makes sense, because our brains are going to react in the circumstance we're in and in the circumstances that we know, because that's all we know. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can decide that those circumstances aren't going to limit you, because in the different reality that you'd want, you'd have different circumstances. So, right then you're telling yourself that these circumstances can and will change. I know that that's a little bit woo-woo and meta, but I hope that my point comes across, which is that at any moment you can decide that this is going to be a reality and then go from there. The last takeaway I have about 5-figure days is also, as I go through everyone, I'm like, this is the best one. And then I go to the next one and I'm like, oh, this is really the best one. But I really do think they're all so important. Okay. And then the final one here is that the power of focus is the most important thing that you have. And I can't state this enough. This was something that really, really changed things for me earlier on. But I feel like I don't talk about it enough anymore. And I've maybe even gotten a little bit used to it in my own life to realize that it still matters so much. And it is just simply choosing what you focus on. So when I was at that dinner table a year ago, when I was wondering how I'd ever be able to pay for my wedding, or bring in 6 figures, or bring in 5 figures a month, and never even dreaming of having the opportunity to teach about a 5-figure day in under a year, I remember very vividly in those following months deciding that I would just basically ignore the circumstances in my life that weren't going well. And it might sound a little bit like denial, and maybe it is, but I don't care. It works. We always would be able to find something that we were unhappy with in our life. There's always going to be a circumstance that is less than ideal. Always. I mean, you can just literally spend your time on the news reading about like the Amazon burning down or terrorism in a different country. And I'm not saying we should be ignorant, but the point is, if you are not being fierce with your focus, you will always be able to find a reason to focus on something that is standing in your way or that isn't working. And so in those earlier days, I got very intense with only just refusing to focus on anything negative and only focusing on the things that were working. So to paint a picture, let's say that I had, this is an example. I don't remember if this actually happened, but let's say I had a week where I sent out a bunch of sales emails and no one bought anything. I spent more than I had to pay off, and I wasn't able to pay off my credit card in full that month. I proposed 3 ideas to a client and they all said no. I didn't feel well. Maybe I wasn't doing well personally in my own life. Maybe I was fighting with a family member or something. And still, my Facebook page hit 1,000 followers. This is a real win that I had. The obstacles are kind of made up, but this was a real win. And my Facebook page hit 1,000 followers. All I would focus on that week, and all my energy would go to that one win. I would buy champagne for that win. I would take a picture for that win. I would tell my audience about that win. I would pray and thank God for that win. I would meditate about that win. I would so intensely focus on whatever win was happening, no matter how small. And the reason that this matters is because, well, I just want to make clear that I wasn't just thinking, now I have 1,000 people following me on Facebook. When you do focus on a win in your business, it's never just about the one win. It is about that representation of everything else you've done to get to that win. So for me, it wasn't just about 1,000 people following me on Facebook. It was about the fact that I had an idea, a year, 2 years ago, to blog about my life as a 20-something in New York. That led me to travel. That led me to learn how to freelance. That led me to learn how to make money online. That led me to be one of the best business coaches out there, I want to humbly say at this point. And, last year, maybe that I wasn't as good as I am now. But all this is to say that win was a representation of all of that. It was a representation of building something out of nothing. It was a representation of believing in myself, creating a Facebook page in the beginning, putting myself out there, having people take pictures of me, even though I don't think I'm photogenic, and putting them out there for people to see and judge, trying to come up with a brand. Like, those are the wins. That is what is behind every single little win. And so when I, bring up that you need to focus on what's working, I'm not just saying that you should ignore the obstacles in your business and not try to learn from them. I'm saying you need to do whatever it takes to keep in the forefront of your mind how powerful you are, how far you've come, how capable you are, how much you obviously know you can do this, or you wouldn't have even bet on yourself in the damn first place. And that is what those little wins represent. And still to this day, I mean, that concept is what is the only reason that I am where I am. The only reason. I once had a mentor tell me, after she had mentored, probably hundreds of entrepreneurs at that point, that the only thing that sorts out those of her clients that become really successful and those that throw in the towel is this choice of focus, is this decision to see obstacles as opportunities, is this decision to focus on what's working, not what's not working, is this decision to be grateful instead of complain, to see the positive instead of the negative. And that really stuck with me. I remember thinking, if that's it, if that's the only thing I really have to crack in order to be one of the successful ones, not a fancy marketing funnel, not inheriting $1 million to invest in my business or spend on Facebook ads or whatever, not having the most original idea in the whole world, just focusing on what's working, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I think that is the biggest takeaway still to this day from every single win I have. I only got there from building off of other wins. The only way we're going to climb up this ladder is if we have the foundations beneath it to walk up. And you can build those foundations by paying attention to what those wins are and learning from them and standing strong and high on them. Okay, I think I've gotten my point across. I hope that you guys found this episode helpful. Let me know what you think about these takeaways and how you can apply them to your next big income goal. Let me know if a 5-figure day or month is on your heart and what is standing in the way of it if it hasn't happened yet, because I'd love to help you make it happen. You can always email us at help@urban20something.com. And just to briefly summarize, the 4 takeaways I want you to have from these 5-figure days I've had are: number 1, no marketing is wasted marketing. Number 2, you never know who's watching. And so you really want to be consistent, and you really want to, I don't know if you guys remember how I couldn't think of the other way that you can leverage this, but I thought of how I want to phrase it, which is that you really need to over deliver with your clients, because they'll also refer people to you and they'll share how great you are, if you are great. The third takeaway from this all was that you and only you can and will put yourself in the game. And the fourth takeaway is that your power of focus is the most powerful tool that you have. So here's to having a win today, this week, every day. Here is to your next big income goal. And here is to your biggest vision. And before we go, I just want to remind you guys one more time that my Labor Day sale ends in just a few hours. And so if you do want to learn list building, if you do want to learn email marketing, if you want to have a great audience that allows you to have these income realities, go check that out. It is for you. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great, great Labor Day.